So last year, we went on a trip to Georgia.
Hey guys, we're back with another video. We're actually traveling for a holiday to Georgia with an inner stop at Istanbul, Turkey. If you're wondering if I'm gonna be doing any other vlogs, well, yes, in the continuous week, for this week, I guess, I'm gonna do a ton of vlogs, a tour of Georgia, with the tour guide himself. So I'm gonna do a vlog about that, and we'll also have our usual shows of tech unboxings, because, well, those are the usual stuff that tech YouTubers are supposed to do. So I do have some upcoming tech to unbox.
And of course, we enjoyed the trip. It was a trip through Turkey, and then we landed in Georgia exactly around 4 or 5 in the evening, which was a lot late, but it was still bright and sunshiny there. Now, of course, we went to our hotel and also got some rest, went outside for a bit, grabbed some coffee and some dinner by around 8 and got home and hit the hay. Next morning when I got up, I uploaded the video that you saw of my trip to Georgia. But after that, I never published another video. So today I'm going to be talking about my trip and my experience in Georgia. So to start off the trip, I started off in Tbilisi, the capital of Georgia. It was a beautiful place. So in day one, we actually visited the important places in the capital of Georgia. Most importantly, the Central Chapel and Church of Tbilisi, as well as the Presidential Palace. We also checked out some of the most important sightseeing places to actually see, which include the Peace Bridge as well as the Sulphur Bath Springs in Tbilisi. And of course, after that, we also got to see a love bridge, which is just your average bridge with a bunch of blocks on it, and of course, a waterfall. Typical cold country kind of thing. And of course, the waterfall was great and we enjoyed the trip. So of course, after the tour for the day, we actually went to the Sulphur Springs that evening. It was great. It was hot, and of course it had a bit of a sulfur content to it. You know that because of the smell. It had a bit of a rotten egg smell. And it was great. It was soothing, yet it was a bit too hot, I might say. And of course, it was great and relaxing as well. Day 2, we visited a really old chapel which was on top of a pretty high mountain in Tbilisi. And the view from that we got was astonishing. We got the view of an entire city in Tbilisi. That city in turn has a name of its own, Old Tbilisi, which actually represents Tbilisi in the olden days, before all cities began to modernize. So we also went there, and of course, the church that you see in this picture, we went there as well. And of course, there was not much of a huge thing. We saw a lot of stalls with honey, and of course, some sweets and toy stalls, and of course, stalls with old swords. And of course, at the end, we saw the church, and that was basically it for that time. Then we actually headed back, and on the way, we actually went to one of the few malls that were in Tbilisi. And that was one of the first places that I experienced VR gaming. So after that, we headed out for lunch, and that evening we just headed out for the park and got ready for day 3. Day 3 was nothing but a whole lot of traveling. That day we actually traveled to Borjomi, which is a mountain resort sort of place with touring exhibits that were over kilometers apart. So of course it was a bit of a travel that day. So Borjomi is a mountain resort, and in there we stayed in Borjomi Palace, which was one of the best hotels that we stayed in Georgia, period. But of course that only lasted for 2 days. Day 1 we headed over to the hotel. That evening we went out for some sightseeing outside of the hotel and around, and then of course we headed back home that night. But of course we didn't stop there. There was an indoor pool. We swam and then we headed back, had dinner, and went to sleep. Then of course day 4 was when we toured Borjomi. Now of course there's not a lot of things to see in Borjomi, but the things that are to be seen are actually 100 kilometers away from Borjomi. The first part being is the Rabati Palace, which is of course a castle that was built way back. Now of course part of it was only the tour of the Rabati Castle, and it contained a museum containing old artifacts of Georgia. So guys, we actually finished our excursion, I guess, our tour of Rabati Fortress. Pretty nice. Actually, most of it is reconstructed by the government of Georgia, so nothing too interesting here. Next, we're moving on to some other different place, which I really don't know what it is, but I'll let you know on the way when we get there. Alright guys? Now the next part after the Rabati Tower or Rabati Castle was... Guys, we're back, and I guess this is the Silk Road Corridor, I guess. This is actually Miktavari Canyon, guys. So actually, we cannot get a guide, so we're gonna just go and check out how it is, maybe get an overlook, and maybe come back, guys. Nothing huge available over here, guys. These were actually hideouts that were used in the World War II kind of times to hide military armies inside in order for refuge and all sorts of things. Now of course it was a bit of an expedition. We went a bit of a long way, and of course we came back. It was sort of fun, but we ended up only seeing caves. So that's day 4. We ended up coming back home, having a dip in the pool, and of course some dinner, and ended day 4. So next up, day 5. Day 5 we were traveling once again. Yep, we were traveling to Batumi, which is technically the modern city side as well as the main port section of Georgia. Now of course we visited 3 typical parts: the traditional capital, the mountain resort, as well as the modern city. Now of course on day 5 we actually just went to Batumi, and we were in this crappy hotel which promised a whole lot of things but had none of them. We ended up going to the beach that evening and only came back before midnight, so it was pretty late, sun had already set, and yeah, we ended up in the hotel, hit the hay. And day 6 we actually took a tour of Batumi. Now of course touring Batumi, which is a pretty big part of the tour. In one day we actually covered a whole lot of places. We actually went to the Georgian-Turkish border, as well as one of a pretty majestic and great waterfalls of Batumi, as well as some bridges. So yeah, we visited those kind of places, and of course we checked out some statues that were in the town, which were of course a great sight to see because they were really beautiful architectures. And of course, since most of Batumi is a really modern city, there's actually nothing much to see there. At the end of the day, we actually went to a dolphin aquarium, which I'll show you a clip right now. that's how we sort of ended the day. Now, of course, after all the dolphin aquarium and all that stuff, we in between actually visited some botanical gardens which had an abundance of flowers, some amazing trees, and it was actually a really good sight to see. Now, Batumi, being a really modern city, is actually really great. There are some pretty nice sights to see, and while most of them are architectures and statues, it has a really amazing nightlife. That evening we actually went to the cable car and took a cable car to the very top and had an entire view of Batumi. And of course there was the major city. And of course I actually liked Batumi more than I actually liked the others. But then again, I also liked Tbilisi. I didn't like Borjumi that much because there was not a lot of sightseeing there. But then again, that's my preference. After that, we took a cable car back down. We also headed to a music concert, which was an open music concert. So we actually checked that out. And of course, we had a stroll at the beach that night. And of course, we headed back home like midnight 12. And sort of that was the end of the trip, because the next day we actually ended up traveling back to Tbilisi, where we actually have a flight the next day back to Kuwait through Turkey. And of course after that we had to come back to India the next day. So that was just a bit of a trip back to India. It was a huge time shift kind of thing. But on a whole, I enjoyed the trip. It was a really amazing place. I'd say it's one of the most beautiful places that I've ever been to yet. And I hope you guys also have a chance to check out that place. It's really amazing. So that wraps up for this video. This is just a update that I wanted to do for a really long time, and a vlog that I've been meaning to post for a really long time, and that's what I just did. So hope you liked this video. Leave a thumbs up, subscribe, follow me on all social media links linked down in the video description, support me on Patreon, and I'll see you guys soon with some amazing new tech content. So I'll see you guys soon.